Right, here we go. Welcome, everybody. We have no need for apologies for absence because we're all here. Is that correct?
That's
Yes,
correct.
looking at you all. Declarations of interest.
Yep.
Rob?
Well, for tonight,
Yes.
yeah, the
Planning.
Yeah.
That's right. Well,
I'll pop away.
Yep.
Yeah.
Minutes of the previous meeting. We've had these, I believe. We have had these, haven't we, Elizabeth? I did look at them.
Yes,
There we go.
I've had them.
Yep. Propose and seconder for those.
I'll second.
Who's proposing?
Rachel and Nick.
I will say, Mr. Chairman, sorry, and I did
Yep.
miss it. We did go past the public participation quite swiftly.
Oh, yes.
That would have been where actually Councillor Davies would have actually participated. So that's my
Sorry, I
fault.
missed that. I started his agenda.
No, I do. I apologize for that. So maybe if Councillor Davies is happy to stay, maybe we just approach that at the end for continuity. But I'm
Are
happy.
you happy with that, Jane?
Yes, I'm very happy.
Yeah.
Where are we? Chairman's messages. I don't think I have any particular messages this evening, apart from to welcome Natalie as an observer, and we will move swiftly on to number 5. Consider applications for one casual vacancy on the council and to opt accordingly. So we have received an application from Natalie, who would like to join this august body. Do you have anything to say, Natalie? We would like to receive a presentation or statement. We've seen your written one. Why do you want to join us?
I hope you also saw there was a little covering letter, wasn't there?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think just very, very simply, I love to take part in the community, and I've helped the school for many, many, many years. And now I feel like my kids having moved on to Marlborough, I'd really like to be involved more locally. We've been in the village for 5 years, but it's taken us a few years to get to know people because our children went to a different school. So now that, I've got to meet a lovely little circle of friends, and I feel like actually I would love to just be part of the community to get to know more people, but also to try and see whether any improvements can be made to the village, for all the villages, and just do the best that I can do.
Fantastic.
Great.
Does anybody want to propose and second? Do we need to
Propose.
Second.
Proposed by Rob, seconded by everybody else.
There's a real charge there, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
It's positive.
Can we just sorry, who proposed it?
Rob.
Rob.
Yeah.
Bob proposed it. Okay. Seconded.
Nick.
I think it was me. Nick.
Nick.
We all second you, Natalie.
Does that mean I'm in?
Yay!
I'm in. Thank you.
Yes, welcome. Thank you for standing up and joining us and getting involved.
Thanks for having me.
Forward to many council meetings to come. They're not as exciting or as disreputable as some you may have seen recently.
Yeah.
If
I was
only.
looking forward to that actually, Sam.
Well, let's see how we go. Quickly moving on to planning. Planning report, which Elizabeth circulated. Rob is stepping away while we consider the planning application for Bucks Council. Any objections? No.
No, it looks fine to me. The only question I had is why it's come back again, because we've already approved it. So I don't quite know why it's come back again.
Yeah, that's for both of them.
Yeah, that I looked at it just now and it looks the same.
We need Rob back in so he can answer the question.
He did say something to me another time about something about the change of use of the land, which is maybe why they've had, because they think that where the barn is part of their garden, but when the planning officer came out, they thought it was actually part of the field that they own, not the garden. So it might just be a kind of nicety. I don't think it's changed as far as I can
I
see.
think it has now come back as change of use from an agricultural building, whereas before it was a barn. To
Okay, so this is the planning for the change of use as opposed to the actual building changes.
Okay.
You're very quiet, Bob.
Yeah, you're a bit quiet.
Okay, I will do my best to. Is that better?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I think it was. I think the latest one was an agricultural building, whereas previously it was a barn.
Okay.
So that would be my guess.
So we've approved the physical changes, and this is approving the
Exactly the same.
change of use. Excellent. Well, I have no objections either way. So
No, I had no objections either.
No objections.
Likewise, none.
And the second one at Bucklefields is alterations to a previous planning approval. I couldn't see the differences of what they'd changed.
No.
But they've started it already as well,
Mm.
which it does say on the form. Welcome back, Rob. But I think
Muted. I can't unmute him. He needs to unmute himself. I can't do it. It says ask to unmute.
Are we done on Brockfield?
yes.
Okay, cool.
Yep. We've moved on to Bucklefields, Rob.
Can we just confirm with Rob? I mean,
Yeah.
Rob, the difference we're assuming is that it changed from a barn to an agricultural building, didn't it?
Exactly. But weirdly, a month or so ago, a lady from the planning department came in the dark to have a look at it, and it was pitch black, like pitch black. And anyway, so our garden has a slope, and then it goes into, there's a little gate, but we use the area a lot for playing football, messing around, etc., by the barn. And she was like, it's not part of the curtilage of the house. That's what she said. So
because
you're
it's
like,
agricultural, not domestic.
how can you see that in the dark? And we use it the whole time anyway. Anyone who passes, well, not everyone, but lots of people who pass by the Ridgeway see us playing football or rugby or whatever, messing around. So, just the slope of our, the first bit out of the back of the house is a real high slope. So it's not great for sort of garden playing activities kind of thing. Anyway.
Okay.
So,
Thanks.
Yeah.
Bucklefields. Does anybody have any objections to that?
No.
No.
No, me neither. Quickly on planning, Elizabeth, you all saw the letter which Gordon wrote about the work that's ongoing next door to the opposite the village hall, and asking us to look into it.
Yes. Yes. Yep. Go on.
I went to speak to the resident or the owner, and it's definitely not a new dwelling. He's tarting up the barn. I'm not an expert enough on planning matters to know if he needs planning permission for it, but as far as I can see, it's just it's renovating an existing building and not change of use, or not. It's not a separate dwelling.
Yeah, I'd concur with that.
The
Sam. I
services
think
are all
that's
shared
exactly
between the two and everything.
right. Yeah.
That is something that, from the standpoint of the parish council, we're only legally able to make comment on. So that
Yeah.
does still fall to Wiltshire Council to come out and look at. And I have raised it with them, and so that I'm sure they will be out, eventually to have a look. It's not that I don't trust you, or that actually they shouldn't trust the fact you've had a conversation. It's just
No. I appreciate it. I told him that I said, I'm not an expert on the planning regulations, so we may have to. We've had a couple of people mention it to the parish council, So we may have to refer it to Wiltshire. So if someone comes to look,
And that's what
he
it
was
will
he was fine with it. He said if I have to apply, then I will. But he didn't think he had to.
Okay.
I'll reply. You haven't replied to Gordon, have you, Elizabeth?
I haven't yet. I was waiting to hear from Wiltshire Council. So as soon as I do, I can send him a holding email. I'm happy to do that, just to let him know that we were doing what we need to.
Okay.
But I was waiting for an outcome. But I can give an interim sort of email in the middle. So that's fine.
Next. Dog waste bin in the area of Pools Meadow. So we're all to consider and agree the purchase of an additional bin from ID Verde at £365, post mounted to new post. Bin mounted to new post. Are we all happy with this?
I am certainly.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I put in an email that it's a shame that they have not picked up on the Christmas tree, but I had a feeling that that would be the case.
Yeah.
But I have no problem with the bin there.
Yes.
Apparently, the existing waste bin is used a lot.
Yeah.
So if we replace that existing waste bin with a special bin, I'm guessing it should be used equal amount.
Yeah, I think so. Jane, do you want to say something?
I just wanted to say that it's perfectly legal to put wrapped dog waste in a normal bin and it'll get collected. I mean, Wiltshire Council won't put in any additional bins for you. You'd still have to buy from ID Verde, but I think they are cheaper if they're not dog waste bins. I apologise if I'm coming in very late on the conversation and there's been solid reasoning for choosing a dog bin, but I just thought I'd volunteer that information.
Thank you. Yes. Who empties the bin currently?
Isn't that part of their management agreement, wasn't it?
Yeah,
that's part of their management thing. So it's not a Wiltshire Council thing. It's part of their whether they have that looks after the land.
I mean, Jane, you're quite right. That when I met ID Verde last, they confirmed that you can put dog bags into an ordinary litter bin, and they will empty it irrespective, because apparently it goes into the normal waste, which I was quite surprised about, but there we go. Whether you're right in saying that it's cheaper if we get an ordinary bin, I don't know. That's not been suggested before, so I've not checked that one out.
Okay.
So
I just wonder if it is cheaper, maybe you could have some signs up. You know, you could afford them to pay for some signs saying, please pick up after your dog, something like that. Or I can help you get some signs from the dog warden.
Well, certainly we're going to put a sign in the footpath leading from Jubbs Lane, the top of Jubbs Lane. I think the farmer is happy for us to have a sign, but he didn't want to have a bin there.
Which is frustrating, because if you ask people, dog walkers in the village, the one place they all say where we need a bin is Jubbs Lane.
Yeah. So I felt that the nearest place was Paul's Meadow, really. So if they were happy to have one, fine. Let's do it.
Yeah.
I mean, in case of Paul's Meadow, they have their own ordinary waste bin, which will only be about 5 meters away from the dog bin, but that's sort of in the playground area. Because that has to be maintained by the residents, and the residents were having to empty the bin with waste in it, which is what they were trying to avoid.
It's quite a popular. There was a lot of dog waste going into it, and it's kind of in the playground. So
yeah, I personally, I think it's been going on long enough. I would just do it. But
yeah, I agree.
Can I just quickly say something?
Yes.
I still think the sort of Pools Meadow relationship with the rest of the village has not really improved, has it?
No. Well,
that's one way of saying it.
Yeah.
If between this small group of people, I think probably I was being played, but it suited me in a way, because I was conscious of the fact that we couldn't get a bin in Jubbs Lane. therefore, if we could get a bin at Paul's Meadow, then it suited the parish council's efforts. So, but I just had a feeling that we were getting pushed on the Christmas tree, and yeah, perhaps it shows that they don't want I actually, the one thing that has come through to me is that I've got I think I sent through to all of you the Section 106 agreement. Now, I don't know whether any of you have read it.
Yeah.
But the Section 106 agreement is quite specific about the fact that that is public playground, and it's there in perpetuity at all times and must not be closed off or anything built on it. And I don't think the residents know that.
Well, I think
I've spoken to my friend who lives up there, and he's never seen the 106 agreement. Now, I'm surprised that the solicitors, when they bought the house, didn't give them that agreement, because none of them seems to be aware of the fact that they have this liability. Though they're paying for the maintenance, they have this liability to keep it open for the public use.
Yeah. So it's very complicated. I think it just needs to continue to be addressed to try and improve the relationship between Paul's Meadow and the rest of the village.
I think
there's
a lot of residents want to be considered to be part of the village.
Yeah.
And the village, there are certainly people within the village who think that the residents don't want to get involved. So I think we just need to, put on some sort of event or do something that brings everybody together.
Sorry, that's exactly
we had
what
all sorts of plans for the was it VE Day last year, which obviously got kiboshed.
Yeah.
But
well, did they say when you spoke to her, did she give any indication about why she didn't want the parish council, someone from the parish council, to sit on their meetings?
I didn't ask that specific question.
That's a whole. If they don't, I'm quite happy not to get involved in that. I don't think if it's they, as a resident and as the owners of their properties, appoint a management company to manage it on their behalf. And if they don't want the council to get involved in that private relationship, then
I think
for whatever reason, then I don't think we need to. In
fairness, they the residents of Paul's Meadow have to pay. I think they said it was about £350 a year, wasn't it? The current chair of the Residents Association owns 2 of the houses, so for her it would be £700. I think they take the view that it's a pleasant area at the moment, and it's well maintained and it's looked after, and they don't want it spoiled. I think it's as simple as that. And if they can avoid people using it, then it obviously saves them money and keeps the area in good condition. But as I think I somewhat cynically said, if we were to arrange for a football game to be played every Saturday morning on there and turn it into a ploughed field, I don't think they could do anything about it.
No, they can't. And I was saying, I tend to agree with what Rob is saying. It has to be addressed, because they can't carry on thinking that that's their own land. It's absolutely for the use of the village. And to Sam's point, I think we absolutely need to put something on, an event on there as soon as possible. And as I was saying to Sam earlier, I think an opportunity is we could maybe do something to whenever we start releasing out of lockdown, we could maybe put on some event on that village green there to celebrate release or whatever it might be from lockdown. And that might be a good opportunity to do something sooner rather than later, because I think it does need to happen sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
But maybe prior to that,
we did talk a while ago about doing a beating the bounds at Ogbourne, didn't we?
Mm.
That could be something we look at.
Yeah.
Sort of celebrate the village and freedom and walking around the boundaries and starting there or finishing.
Yeah.
I think,
But it would be worthwhile. It would be worthwhile before we do anything like that, just so that we don't just look like railroading it. Just sharing that 106 document with them, just in case they don't have it. To your point, Bob.
I mean, as I have said, because I've got friends on there, I would rather not take that forward. But I think, I don't disagree. If Sam wrote to Astrid in a response to her letter about the tree, etc., with that section 106 agreement, then I think that if they don't know about it, then it's at least telling them we know about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or Astrid would know about it.
It's a very fine line.
She's bound to know about it.
In one of my emails, if you remember, I wrote to the council regarding the section 106 agreement, and they referred it to their solicitors, and their solicitors came back with the fact that yes, we can use the land, that's absolutely within our right, but if we want to put anything on the land, I think it's a grey area, but maybe even like a stall for if you decided to have the fete on there, I'm not sure whether we are entitled to put anything on the land.
Well, we can look at this. We can look at this next month.
Maybe for another day, then.
I think so.
We can look at this in more detail.
I don't know. Jane, can I just ask Jane, Sam, on that? Would you happen to know, Jane, whether or could you look that up and find out anything for us?
I can try. Yeah, it'd be really helpful. Well, I'll wait for Elizabeth to come up with the minutes, and then I'll go and pursue that. Yeah.
Yeah, just to see if the freedom that the public have. It's nothing to do with the parish council. It's the public. So it's freedom the public have to use that to put stalls on it. I mean, I particularly picked up the point that she didn't want a tree because people could gather around the tree and smoke and etc. etc. And my reaction was, well, actually, sorry, but they could do that anyway. If you wanted to, under normal circumstances, if you wanted to just go up there, half a dozen people, stand in a corner and have a drink or smoke, there's nothing to stop you doing that, I don't think. So, I think it may be a question of us writing to them as we're suggesting.
I think maybe let's discuss it formally at the next meeting.
Yeah.
Yes, if you want me to come out and do a quick site visit, socially distant, of course, so you can actually show me, because it's easier if I've seen it to be able to talk to about it. And it's great to go out at the moment.
You're happy to meet me, or
I've
been dealing with it, or Sam, I don't mind. What do you think? Yeah, but we give you both our numbers, Jane.
Okay, just email me.
Okay. Yeah.
And we'll fix something.
So to get back onto the agenda, because I know Will has to go.
Thank you.
Consider and agree the purchase of an additional bin. We're agreed on that. We've considered it.
Yeah.
Propose a seconder. I'm happy to propose that. Seconded by Rob. To consider and agree an amendment to the emptying contract.
I have been sort of proposing every fortnight, but obviously monitoring it to see how full or empty the bins are at each emptying point.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Well, point B is to agree for an extra bin. So that would be, we're happy to
agree.
Yeah. Agreed. Yeah.
Second.
Seconded by Bob.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So item C, the emptying frequency. So yes, Bob, a fortnightly sounds reasonable.
Yeah. Okay.
Can I have a second and there's a cost implication. So may I have a first and a second, please?
Proposed by Rachel, seconded by Nick.
Thank you.
And oh, hold on. Confirm the emptying frequency for the previously approved. Is that not the same as the one above?
Well, as long as you all agree that you agreed before, it was, I think you did, but it wasn't that specific. I went back and listened to the minutes and it wasn't quite.
I think we agreed we would do the one by the church as well, didn't we?
Yes.
Yeah.
So we're emptying 3 bins.
So emptying 3 bins fortnightly to be reviewed if they start overflowing.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Excellent. Item 8, correspondence circulars. Have we had anything, Elizabeth?
Not for this meeting, no. You had a couple of things, but not for this meeting. It came after the agenda. It'll be on the next meeting.
Items of maintenance. I think anything that does come up, we can consider at the main meeting next month, can't we?
Sorry.
The comment I have here is, Elizabeth, can you tell us what's happening with the parish steward?
No, I just need to send the form going forward. That's what I need. So if you have items, this needs to be an ongoing rolling thing. We do need to bring in, and I will put it on for March, that actually we need to agree if there are going to be items that are going to be yearly that we want for, twice a year. You can actually schedule them in to do that. But if you've got one-offs, then I need a monthly list. So you need to be letting me know. And they want it 2 weeks in advance.
Have you not been given a list?
Will, do you want to go?
I've had a
Yeah,
list.
I do.
Before,
Thanks, Sam.
But the list.
Thank you very much. Sorry, everyone.
That's
Okay.
right. We'll see you in.
See you, Will.
See you in March.
Thanks, Will. See you soon.
The list is actually ongoing. So if it hasn't been done, you've got to let me know that it hasn't been done.
It's just, I mean, down at the bottom of the high street, the road flooded recently because the gully's blocked, and I think it's one of those things that the parish steward can do.
Yeah, just opposite the river, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. So I would, and it's extremely muddy down there, where tractors and large lorries and buses have to cut to the corner on and they drive onto the grass verge. So it's again, that's something that needs maintaining, and it'd be nice to get on with it, to be honest.
So
what do you need from us?
Do you want that to be put into like what I need from you is a list of what we're going to do twice a year, once a year, 3 times a year. I mean, you all live there and you know exactly what you want to see happen. There will be one-off projects that they need to take on. Otherwise, what I need to be telling them is, in this month, can you please do this? In this month, can you please do that? And that's a rolling schedule. And Nick went over this, I think, last time too, saying that, that's kind of how we would sort of respond to the parish steward scheme. And so what I need from you as a collective group is sort of a schedule of what you'd like to see within your village. There'll be parts of the village that need one-offs, and there'll be parts that need to have twice a year, every month. And I'm happy to come out and look at them with you and take pictures, because that always helps the steward as well. But I just need to know what I need to be doing to make that happen. And I know the graffiti is an issue. And so that's on there. But beyond that, we need to have more of a formalized sort of model of what we give them so they can be effective.
I completed that form though about 2 months ago and sent it around to everyone.
And I haven't known if the work's been done. I need that communication back. If it hasn't, then I've got to go back and chase the other direction. So I need people to be saying, we put this forward, it's not done, or it is done. Yeah. Or I need to be coming out with agreement once a month and looking at all those places myself.
Would
it help again if I sent out the list again?
Yeah, Bob, I was going to propose, if you sent it out again to everyone with a view that we respond before the next meeting, and if people maybe put down what their thought is around regularity of need against each item, then that gives us a starter for 10, doesn't it, Elizabeth? And then, as you say, if we think coming towards spring, it'd be prudent to maybe do a walk down of those areas, take photos to support the application, picture paints 1,000 words, etc. and then maintain that ongoing correspondence with the parish steward to confirm that it's needed, or even say to them, actually, it doesn't need to be done this month or whatever, then that's the kind of relationship I had in my previous parish, and it worked really positively.
Absolutely.
To the extent that even at times the parish steward would approach us and say, I've seen this job, do you want me to do it?
Yeah.
Rather than being told. And that's where we want to get to ultimately.
Yeah.
And my only question is, does anyone know what is the remit of the parish steward? Because I can't remember, so apologies, when it comes to byways and footpaths within the parish.
I'm going to say I would refer that to Jane. My view is that they don't do footpaths, but there's a pretty sort of outlining overview of what they do.
Yep.
But I do not believe that footpaths, and I believe that it depends upon who owns what land and what they're responsible for. So I think that clarity of what land is owned by whom makes a big difference. But Jane, I mean, by all means, please.
Yes, landowners are supposed to maintain footpaths in a state that people can walk safely along them. So it's part of your responsibility as a parish council to just remind landowners of their duties. It's easier if they're, well, it's not so easy now because everything's changed with farming grants, but you used to be able to sort of have some enforcement powers through the grants given to farmers. Steve Leonard at Wiltshire Council comes out and clears footpaths sometimes if they're, say the entrances of them are on road verges. You can try asking your parish steward, because my experience is they want to be helpful. They'll always tell you if they can't do it, but there's no harm in asking them.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Jane.
Sam, perhaps you would know this. Who would own the footpath up to the Belfield?
That's exactly the one that I was thinking of.
Yeah, likewise.
I don't know is the answer. It's a path between properties. So
yeah, if there's significant work, we have grant aided parish councils at area boards to do improvements to stiles, etc. Which I always thought was a bit
more overgrowing hedgerows and muddy. I mean, it's countryside, so people expect footpaths to be muddy, but because it's kind of in the middle of a village, it's not welcoming the fact that it gets, and it's on a slope. But it's
well, you've got the main issue now, isn't it? Is the laurel hedge at the far end before you turn.
Laurel hedge behind.
So overgrown that you can't.
Not Natalie's house, but it's yeah. You know what I mean, Natalie.
I think if somebody has a laurel hedge, it's probably their responsibility to maintain it because it's clearly a garden plant. It's not just a natural.
Yeah, it's grown beyond the fence line. So I think you're exactly that, Jane. I think we Sam, might be something to consider, that we just need to inform the owner of property. That
it's been on my to-do list.
Yeah,
I know the neighbours. I know the neighbours of that person. So
okay. The only other area that I had a query over, and we may not decide to do anything, is there is a public footpath that if you're coming up from your end of the village, Sam, up towards, the Muse cottages, just after the old rectory.
Yeah, on the right.
Yeah, so there is a public footpath that goes up that way.
Yeah.
And around the back. That is completely overgrown. May well have been for years, and maybe because
not heavily used, that one.
No, but I guess it might not be heavily used because it's blocked. So it's a bit of a catch-22. Do we seek to clear it so it's open to use, or do we just live with it blocked?
Well, at least it's not permanently fenced off like the one next to yours, Bob.
Yeah, you can report issues with footpath access to Steve Leonard.
Okay.
At Wiltshire Council, and he can commission people to come and cut things back and do stuff. But of course, it takes a while to happen.
If one is actively blocked, do we report that to him?
Definitely have to report it to Steve Leonard.
Thinking about the one near me.
Yeah.
Yeah, if somebody,
it's actually a bridle path, isn't it?
I've spoken to Steve Leonard.
What did he say, Bob?
There is a dispute between Wiltshire Council and farmer, and it's been going on for about 35 years. And the farmer's son, as you all know, or some of you will know, is the lawyer as well as being the farmer. And he's stating precedents back to about 1734, I think. So speaking to Steve Leonard, they just haven't got the manpower or the expense to challenge it.
It is an issue at the moment, and it's something that I am raising at the parish council, not at parish council, at Wiltshire Council. I think the rights of ways officers are underfunded at the moment, and it obviously doesn't affect town and urban parishes very much, but it certainly does affect rural parishes, and I'm trying to get some better funding, but obviously it's difficult at the moment because of COVID.
Yeah.
But it doesn't stop you reporting it. And I have to say, if a footpath or a bridleway is on the definitive map from 1950,
I've only been here 7 years, but quite a lot of people have reported it during that 7 years, and it just hits a wall. So, well, hits a fence, as this case may be.
Does that lead us down the path, though, Bob, that we should be reporting it more and more regularly?
Yeah, unless you make a fuss. And if you want to email again and copy me in, I will then email too, which just gives a bit more weight to the situation.
Well, I did. The last time I spoke to Steve Leonard, he was actually going to provide a notice to explain the situation, because I have to go out there and chat to people and tell them, sorry, it doesn't go anywhere. So he was going to provide a notice for me to put up in the drive to explain that there was an issue between the councils, but
you used to be able to report farmers to DEFRA, and they would cut their funding because part of their funding was to
I think
maintain footpaths.
There's much more of a, without going into detail, there's much more of a problem than that. The records, the parish records are not consistent. And
there's a lawyer involved.
Well, that's the problem, is that the written word is not the same as the map. So quite how it got onto an ordnance survey map as a bridleway, it's long before my time. But I do speak to a lot of people. Some people say it has been closed for 30 odd years. Other people say it's never been opened. Other people say, oh no, I've walked down it. So certainly no one's been walked down it over the last 10, 15 years, I would say, probably. So
well, we're not going to fix that this evening, I'm afraid.
No.
So, Elizabeth, you will Parish Steward. Who's going to say?
So I'll circulate the document. Bob, if you circulate your report again, I'll put it through, and
I'll do that.
We'll get it. But again, I would just emphasize, if something hasn't happened, please come to me, tell me, and then I will chase them up. But
it's the kind of document, it seems to me, that over the years ahead we can all add to it, can't we? Once we've gone through the seasons, we can all on our walks be aware of what needs to be done and just keep adding to it, rather than having to complete it in the next month.
Yeah, it's a living document.
Yeah,
that's the way to look at it. That's how we managed it previously, and we would just remove stuff once it was repaired.
Yeah,
just keep the regular stuff on there, or add to it if we identified something in particular.
Yeah.
And that worked really well, because the parish steward liked it, because he could then plan when he came to that area. He knew exactly what he was doing when he was doing it, and if he did it quickly, he could move on to other jobs.
Yeah,
I think some of the other challenges in the whole scheme of what the parish steward does is that it's electronic for them, as far as my last information was given to me, and so they plan ahead. They're given scope to do certain work in a certain period of time. They go out, they're supposed to be reporting back to Wiltshire Council when they arrive, when they leave, what the job is. So the emphasis about what you want done and what is required, it really falls to us to be very specific about. Clearing leaves from a certain, gutter is not really, it's helpful, but it's not that helpful, because there's a lot of gutters. And I can speak for myself. I don't live in Ogbourne. So being as specific as we can to help them achieve what they need to, it just delivers a better working relationship. And I think that it just circulates a whole different working relationship all around. So
on that note, Elizabeth, sorry, Sam, is in light of the work that Bob did about naming the houses and the sort of map produced to the village, so that you could identify locations. I'm not saying we necessarily use that one, but it would be therefore useful, either an OS map or a zoomed in satellite hybrid map, to then co-locate. Maybe I'm thinking ahead of here. When we got the list, we take the photographs of the areas and mark it on a map, and then give all the information the parish needs, so the steward needs, so there's no doubt he's clear in his own or her mind exactly what's needed where.
That's
Job
very
done.
true. And I would say to you that I think that in March, my view, my recommendation to you guys, there are several different avenues you can travel with that. We have the, what 3 words model that you could look at. We've got the longitude, latitude you could do, and you can inform people on sign. There's a lot of different ways the council can look at actually trying to communicate location. And I think that that is for different, obviously not for tonight, but I think it is something that the council needs to potentially look at.
Yeah. Jane?
I was just going to ask you if you use the My Wilts app, because that allows you to pinpoint very accurately issues and they go straight to the contractor. I don't know if the parish steward picks up on that, but as he works for Ringways and Ringway are the contractors, he should have access to that. Even if he doesn't have direct access, you could use it as an app to pinpoint where the issue is, screenshot it and then email it to him as a screenshot. And it's simply called My Wilts, and it goes on your smartphone. You can pinpoint locations, you can add photographs, and you do descriptions, and you just report different things.
Yeah, I've got the app, Jane, and I think I used the predecessor quite a lot in my previous village for that very reason. So yeah, it's a really good reminder.
The new one is better.
Point.
I think it's easier. I find it easier to use anyway.
Okay, I wasn't aware of that, but I will look that up.
In my own experience, Sam, it's really useful for potholes.
It's very good for potholes, and it'll get your parish steward coming out doing that. The other thing I was going to say is it's really important to use your parish steward. If you don't, you get allocated less and less time each year, because some of the parishes do have handymen who do the work and they just pay them. So do use it or lose it. It's a service that costs Wiltshire money, and as you know, economic future hopefully we'll all bounce back from COVID and everything will be groovy, but if it's not, then Wiltshire will be having to cut services again.
Excellent. Well, we will crack on with the steward. Where are we? 10 key messages. I think the key message is to welcome Natalie to our fold, and we look forward to working together to make Ogbourne a lovely place. Continue to make it, keep it a lovely place, I should say.
Yeah.
I think if I can ask, I noticed you put in your letter, Natalie, about improving the Belfield or using the Belfield. I think I know Rachel is thinking about this as well. It'd be great to have some ideas from you at the next meeting as to what ideas you have.
Sure.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I'd love that. Yeah.
Super.
Okay.
There we go then. Next meeting is in a month, 11th of March. Anything else I've missed out, Elizabeth?
Sam, is it worth mentioning the meeting we had at Little Dragons in the playgrounds quickly or not?
Should we save that for the next meeting, for the full
Should we
meeting?
leave it? Fine. Okay. Yeah.
Elizabeth?
I just wanted to say to Natalie, I will send you some documentation, and we'll get you up and going, and that will allow you to participate as a proper counselor in the next meeting in March. So I'll get that sent out to you toot sweet. Very quickly.
A quick question, Elizabeth. I noticed in the little booklet that my signature had to be witnessed.
Yes, well, because of COVID, there is legislation in place that we're working a bit differently.
Okay.
And so that is in place until May. So at the moment, we've been doing things a bit less. Normally we'd be in a meeting where I'd be present and you would be, and then you'd sign it and it'd be witnessed and stuff. But because of the COVID, that's not possible. So we're able to do things a little bit more relaxed. So,
but if you want to, Elizabeth, Natalie, because we're spitting distance apart, I could witness it outside, socially distanced. If you want to do it that way, that's easy. 30-second job.
You could, yeah, but it does need to be socially distanced. So.
Yep.
Sure.
one more thing. Elizabeth, are you adding Natalie to the email list?
Yes, I will be. Yeah.
Please, yeah. So that I can, so that when I send the, will that take, can you do that tomorrow?
I will. Yes, I can do that.
So that I can, when I send things around, it goes to Natalie.
Oh, that'd be cool. Thank you.
The other thing too, Sam, I'm sorry, we did ask Jane to stay on to the end. So could we just take her update, please?
Yes. My apologies.
An update. I'm sure you're aware of the local plan, which is being run currently by Wiltshire Council, which is a planning document. I don't think it specifically affects the Ogbournes at all. It more talks about and responds to the Marlborough Neighbourhood Area Plan, and includes some things which were taken out of the Marlborough Neighbourhood Plan because Parish Parish Council objected and withdrew from the plan. Because it involves quite a lot of house building, which the Marlborough Neighbourhood Plan identified that there was a need for more affordable housing. Some people have questioned whether the survey method was accurate and whether they have included any assessment of the current provision of affordable housing. But if the neighbourhood plan goes through, and that's currently under consultation too, there will be more houses built in Marlborough. There is no allowance for economic development land. So there's no more business land, which means that there'll be more houses and more commuting. There's no money identified within the neighbourhood plan to improve infrastructure or a strategic approach to using SIL money, which is Community Infrastructure Levy. So I would recommend that you all have a look at the Marlborough Hood Area Neighbourhood Plan. Because some people are questioning whether it's a positive document or not. It obviously impacts on the villages because we all go into town, and you know, we often have problems getting into town because of congestion on the roads, etc. So have a look at the documents. They're all available online. The Marlborough Area Neighbourhood Plan and the local plan, which is a Wiltshire Council one. You'll need to do it fairly quickly. I think the neighbourhood plan runs till the 8th of March. I think the local plan might finish on the 24th of February. They may seem like boring planning documents, but actually they will control future development. I think that's the biggest thing. The other thing is I've talked a bit about budgets, and Wiltshire Council had a huge deficit back in the summer because of the spending to support businesses and communities. We are now projecting a break-even budget because we've had a lot of money from central government. You will hear a lot about council tax. The budget is going through Wiltshire Council next Tuesday. I think it will go through. It does mean a rise in council tax for everybody because the adult social care budget, Wiltshire is applying to have the maximum of that. There are, however, various contingency budgets in there, and there's going to be a significantly extended hardship fund for families who cannot afford to pay their council tax for whatever reason and cannot take repayment plans. So people will hear about that. It's a prudent budget, I think, because it allows money to be taken now and the budget balanced again next year, and hopefully in the following 2 years there won't need to be significant increases. And it's definitely a budget that's been formulated with the idea of supporting vulnerable people if there are vulnerable people, and households that are struggling as a consequence of COVID, because we know that some people are still working but have had massively reduced hours. We don't know what will happen when furlough closes and things. So it's a cautious budget, and it's a budget that does put an obligation on people who haven't financially suffered to sort of carry some of the burden of supporting people around them in our community. And I have seen lots and lots of examples of Marlborough really stepping up and doing that, looking after each other. So, you know, it's a difficult message to deliver, but council tax will be going up, I think by 1.99% and then 2% for the adult social care budget. So it equates to something like £15 for a Bandy household. You're looking very shocked now, so I'm trying to think what else I can say that's maybe positive news.
I think it's
You're getting rid of me in May. I'm definitely going. And you, if James Shepherd gets elected, he will come and be your councillor. And he's very good at attending parish council meetings, and he's very experienced now. And I know that Bob and Rachel have seen him at CAT-G meetings.
So over the chairmanship of the CAT-G now.
Yes, James is chair of the CAT-G at the moment. Yes, yeah. And he's also been chairman of Wiltshire Council.
Okay.
So he's quite well connected. That doesn't mean he can wave magic wands and fix things, but you know, we are all working together to try and keep Wiltshire together after the pandemic, and I think we're in a very good place actually. You know, I know people complain about potholes and things, but actually, you know, potholes happen, don't they? And you have to balance budgets.
A lot better than most, I think. A lot better than most, I think.
It is a well-run council, yeah.
Yes. Thank you, Jane. We will all flock to the public consultation. I'd been aware that the Marlborough neighbourhood plan was was in consultation at the moment. So we will have a look. If we want to make comment on it, do we comment on it individually, or can we comment as a parish, as a council?
You could do either. I mean, the quickest thing to do, rather than having to have another meeting and agree it as a parish council, is just to go on and make your comments yourself, because it is a bit of a numbers game.
Yeah.
And you may go on and think it's absolutely fantastic and it all has to go through, because it has many, many good things in it. But the questions people have raised with me is about, do we really need that number of houses? Yeah. Because without a strategic plan to have local employment, it becomes unsustainable to have more houses, more cars on the road, no more employment locally. You know, where are we going to fit everyone? And we don't, there's nothing in there really about improving facilities like the leisure centre, etc.
Leisure centre, doctors, schools, everything. I see St John's are also consulting on increasing their numbers at the moment.
Yes.
Does it limit the number of cars per house on where? Does it give any indication?
No, you can't limit the number of cars at an individual household house. There's no limitation for that.
That's what I suppose I was assuming, which means that irrespective of the number of houses, potentially you could have 3 or 4 cars per house.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You can limit parking, but then people just park elsewhere and it causes chaos.
It's knock-on effect, hence it's the infrastructure challenge. It's all well and good at allowing more houses, but as you say, it's all the supporting infrastructure, be it below ground or above ground, that isn't there, that then impacts all the existing residents.
Absolutely, because the sewage system in Marlborough is collapsing. And this is one of the reasons why we've had a lot of work done by Thames Water recently, is because they are having to replace and line some of the basically Victorian sewage system. And my concern is the neighbourhood plan and the town council aren't very strategic in managing infrastructure. They seem to think it's all Wiltshire Council's responsibility, and that's not how it's done in other towns.
I'll have a read, because I was aware of the press sheet piece and the piece around Marlborough College where there was proposed to purchase land and build a while back, and I was aware of press sheet walking away from it because of very much associated with infrastructure, the lack of investment to add to the infrastructure.
And development on a greenfield site, Nick.
Yeah, yes, first and foremost.
But of course, Marlborough College, it's their land. They want to develop it because it's worth many, many £million if it's got planning permission on it. Yeah. So I'm objecting to the local plan, and I'm raising concerns with the neighbourhood plan, but I'm certainly raising significant concerns with the local plan. I don't believe it's right for Marlborough, but you have to make up your own minds.
Yeah, agreed. But yeah, no, definitely look at it, and if that deadline is pending, we'll look at it.
And they're both quite easy to read. They're both quite short documents, surprisingly, for planning documents.
Okay, that makes a pleasant change.
You have to find the Marlborough bits. They're the short bits. The whole thing, the whole neighbourhood plan's like 700 pages. But if you Google Marlborough, you should just be able to download that bit.
Okay, thank you, Jane.
Okay.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Anything else? Excellent. Thank you all for coming. Thank you, Jane, for coming. Thank you, Natalie, for coming. we'll do it all again in March.